Tune into this week's On.net when I have my good friend Hassan on talking about what's new in OData, specifically compute. So tune in. Hey everyone, I'm James, and we're back with another On.net. And this week, we have a recurring guest, my good friend Hassan, on talking about what's new in OData. Hassan, how's it going?
Pretty good. How you doing, James?
I'm doing great. You are a friendly face of the show. This is not your first time on, correct?
Yep, I'm a norm. I'm a regular. Yes.
You are. And of course, I will link to some other videos that Hassan has done here on the .NET YouTube and on the Docs show pages as well, because Hassan, you do a whole bunch of cool stuff here. If people don't know who you are, they watch other videos. Who is Hassan and what are you doing here?
Yeah, hi James. Hi everyone. My name is Hassan Habib. I'm a senior software engineer at Microsoft. I just, every year or so I go hang out with a certain organization, build core, backend, enterprise level systems. These days I'm working with payments experiences. So the next time you making a payment through Xbox or, Microsoft Store, you're probably going through some of my code, and I'm
Oh,
really
cool.
happy to be able to make that a nice experience. But also, one of the things that I really love about being here at Microsoft is that I get to hang out with teams from all over the place. And this is how I get to know, yourself, Jeremy Lakeness, Sam Shu from the OData Identity team, and Daniel Roth from the Blazor team. And, when I hang out with these people, I get to learn about the technologies that they're working on and what they're really working with. And I get too excited. I'm like a kid in a candy store at Microsoft. So these days, I just, try to talk about OData. I'm here to kind of tell people how amazing OData is and, maybe do a shameless plug for OData Neo. I don't know. We'll see.
Cool. Yeah. Now it's been a while since I've had some hands-on experience with OData. It's one of the very first pieces of technologies I worked with out of college. And I've used all sorts of other things around it, but people may not even know what OData is. Some people may have been using OData for a long time, excited to see for the features, but maybe give a high level 30-second elevator pitch of what is OData.
Absolutely. So OData stands for Open Data Protocol. It's a protocol that, Microsoft proposed to the world, some 13, 14 years ago. And the idea of it is to basically to come up with a standard that can live on top of the existing RESTful API standards to allow more capabilities for clients and customers.
Hmm.
Being able to go and, basically imagine that you have an API that gives you a bunch of products, right? And you want your API also to give you only products that start with the letter A or products that have price over $100, right?
Hmm.
In the ye olden days, you would have to go and actually hire a bunch of engineers and build that entire API endpoint just to fulfill that one requirement. OData comes in and says, I got you. Hold my VS Code. Let me kind of get this all for you, for free, in only four lines of code. Just as simple as that. Gives you all the query capabilities that you can possibly dream up over the API, RESTful API calls.
Got it. So it is a querying protocol standard
Yes.
essentially now compared to like other, actual you said REST and there's other different services that return the data. So it's a querying. So kind of like Link, but
Yes.
for like
For
for REST
REST, for
APIs.
APIs.
Oh, cool. There you
Yes.
go. I think that should literally be Link, but for your APIs. That's
Yes.
what it should say on the website, by the way. Very cool. All right. Well, I'm excited to kind of hear and understand what's new. And I know OData has been around for a while, but there's continuous work going on too.
Yeah, I'm here today to talk about this new amazing feature that Sam Shu and the Identity team, OData team, have been working on, and they finally released very recently. So what they did is that they added a new capability called compute, and the
Okay.
compute capability allows you're not just filtering and selecting and ordering the data, you can actually execute arithmetic operations in
Oh,
real time through your API call with as simple as just enable one small feature in your ASP.NET Core 6 or 7, and it will be, very easily functional. Yes. Yeah.
cool.
Mhm.
Awesome. Let's see it. I'm super excited. This sounds really, really cool because I'm used to the filtering stuff, but like doing some processing in it sounds awesome.
I
So,
love it. I love it.
oh,
So, okay. So just for the people that usually, watch my sessions, I like to start from the bottom up and I'm going to go really fast. But, I want to show you that there is no hidden 50,000 lines of code sitting somewhere in my solution that I'm calling. And all of a sudden, oh, look, it's magic. we used to do that. I used to do that in the past, but I don't do that anymore. I'll be like, if I
Cool.
can't show it to you in a simple way, maybe I need to understand it better. So I'm gonna share my screen here real quick. I think my screen is already shared. All right, so I'm gonna start a new project here from scratch. Luckily the ASP.NET team is giving us a lot of templates, so I can actually spin up an API super quick out of the box. So here's an ASP.NET Core API, and then here is OData compute demo.api, and then I'm gonna just create a simple API in .NET 6. Here we go.
So this is, just a standard ASP.NET Core web API, nothing crazy. You just did file new.
Nothing fancy outside of the box, your basic cable. That's what we're getting here.
Cool.
All right, so here's just the normal things that are going on here. I'm just gonna run this real quick just to show people that it is functional. It is kind of, operational, so we know that the application can be modified without running into any issues. This guy's supposed to pop up a quick Chrome browser instance. Here we go. And then just to make sure, here's my Swagger document. And if I click on this guy, yep, it's giving me some data. So
Boom.
we're functional. We're green.
We got
Okay.
an app. It's
Yeah,
happening.
we have an app. It's just like that, right?
Solved.
It's just
Done. Go
done.
home.
That's it. That's it. Let's call it. Okay. So we have that in place. Now I'm gonna do some tiny modification to my application that will make it much more powerful than anything ever, right? I'm just gonna go here and just add this magical NuGet package. It's called OData. I'm gonna get OData 8. And OData, I'm gonna look for OData with ASP.NET Core. So I'm gonna install this. This is version 808. Okay, so
Okay.
I'm installing this guy here. Here we go. Let's minimize all that stuff.
And we should also tell everybody that I made you change the resolution of your gorgeous 40-inch ultra wide monitor to 1920 by 1080. So if things are looking squished, that's why. It's my fault. You can blame me.
No worries. So you're very kind. Okay, so here's my OData. I installed a new NuGet package, right? Now what? Now what are we gonna do? My OCD here is making me I have a specific way I write my code, so I take away some of the comments. If your code is clean enough, maybe you don't need a lot of comments
It
unless you
all
have it
it all
exposed.
fits. You don't have to scroll at all.
Yep, it's just fitting in there, right? And then I'm just gonna start adding things. So I'm gonna go here and say add OData to my controller. So now here's where the magic happens,
Okay.
right? And really appreciative of the Visual Studio team helping me with my spelling here. Sometimes I misspell the actual thing, and they're
Yeah.
there for me.
So good. I started doing that recently and I was like, wait, how does it even know? And then it just like, yeah, rewrote. It's like Word. It's like, okay, cool. I'm in.
Magic, magic. Yeah, so okay, so this add OData takes an expression, right?
Okay.
And this expression back in the ye olden days, and this is literally that's the last thing you used to have to go and say, okay, I want select, I want filter, I want order by, all of
Mm,
these capabilities, right? And you have control over what you want or don't want in your controller, so you
okay.
can order by all that. But let's say I'm doing a demo like this with James, or I'm working on an internal API that is not really exposed to the public, and it's okay, to allow all these capabilities outside of the box. Sam here went and said, okay, well, why don't you just say enable all query features, just like
Oh,
that.
cool. Yeah,
So
yeah,
that
yeah.
gives you all the capabilities, right?
Nice.
We need to add a little bit more to that. Now, just me adding this in here, this is enough to allow OData to start functioning by simply going here and going and saying, okay, on top of my HTTP GET, I'm just gonna go here and say enable query. So
Okay, so
now,
you
mhm,
added the NuGet, you added OData to the controller so it's aware, and now
mhm.
you're sort of lighting up the functionality on specific API calls.
Yeah, you
Okay,
can you can light it up on the entire controller. You can light it up for all the controllers ever. You can target a particular, endpoint, which is
cool.
all great capabilities.
Nice.
You and I were just talking about misspelling, right? Look at what I typed and look at what Visual Studio found.
It's too
How
good.
crazy is that,
It's so
man?
good.
That just productivity on steroid. I'll tell you that much,
It's so good.
Okay, so enabling query, this is great. And I have the weather forecast. I'm going to do something here to my weather forecast. I'm going to take away this temperature Fahrenheit intentionally for a
Okay.
reason. I mean, we're doing compute, James, so may as well, right? And I'm just
Yep.
going to add an ID in here. I want to add an ID here because when OData actually is working in the real world, you need to kind of be able to distinguish between, the entities that you're working with. So
Got
I
it.
just added an ID, took away one property. Let me build the solution, and let's see if OData is now at this point in time functional. And then we're going to take it up a notch.
Okay.
So here we go. Let me run this guy here real quick.
Now, is it integrated into Swagger? Is that what we're going to see somehow, or is it
Yep.
something separate?
So you need to do a little bit of work just to enable it for Swagger. There's other NuGet packages
Hmm.
that do that for you. It's not too much work. We talked about that in previous sessions,
Yeah.
but out of the box, as soon as I add something called the EDM model into my OData applications, you'll see some endpoints starting to show up like the metadata. It's like the schema of your application.
Hmm.
That will show outside of the box in your Swagger. But some other things like passing in parameters and stuff like that will require a tiny bit of work. Not too much
Okay.
work, but a tiny bit of work.
Okay.
Okay. So weather forecast, if I go up in here and I say weather forecast like this, and I just hit the endpoint from the browser because I'm lazy, you can get that stuff outside the box. No problem there, right? But now that I enabled OData, I can do $select, and I go and say, give me the temperature C in Celsius, and it'll just find these for me and just give it to me
Oh,
outside of the box.
cool.
Even better, you can go here and just say something like, oh, well, filter where temperature C, is larger than, I don't know, 10, something like that, something like this. Let's see, URI is valid, greater than, sorry. I always miss those, yeah. So filter temperature C greater than 10, I think. There you go.
Oh, wow.
So
Cool.
always when the temperature is larger than 10. So you can do a lot of this amazing stuff, right?
It's
And
kind of
filter.
like almost like
Mhm.
SQL queries
Yes.
that you're sending over, right? Like, I don't know if
Yes.
they're greater than
Yep.
specifically the filtering and things like that.
Yep. You can literally go and say, well, I want a temperature that exactly is equivalent to 31. And this one is nothing, even though we had the 31 before, because our API here is generating that data in real time. So if I
Yeah.
show you here, OData compute demo, if you go to the controller, that's really what the controller is doing, is just going and saying, well, generate a bunch of random data. So
Yeah.
sometimes it'll hit, sometimes it won't, right?
Got it.
So just like that, we have amazing capabilities,
Oh, that's
right?
awesome. That's
That's
honestly, I thought you were going to be like, we're going to do OData, and I thought we were going to be here to enable
for a
it for the
while.
next like 45 minutes, but we're not. So that's really cool. And I'm already interested.
Okay, great. I'm glad I can get your interest on that one. This is the whole point of this. Now I'm gonna add something called an EDM model. So let me
What's
just
that?
add.
What's an
Oh,
EDM model, electronic dance music model?
so EDM stands for Entity Data Model, and it teaches OData about every property in your model, so it can do a little bit more magic than the
No.
stuff that I just showed you.
Okay.
So if you actually break it down underneath, it's actually looking for every property in your model, and it's trying to map it up from a dynamic object to a strongly typed object, like I'm going to show you in a second. And then it basically gives you even more capabilities like a schema, like you can hit a metadata endpoint and it gives you what really every endpoint is. It's like a Swagger
Hmm.
before Swagger was cool. Okay.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to go here and just add route components. And I'm going to go and say, well, I want my route. You can control your route. You can say literally James, and now all your endpoints is James/weather forecast, just like that, right? I'm going to just add APIs, just not to freak people out. And then I'm going to go here and say get EDM model, right? So what is this EDM model? It's a very simple function I'm going to add here. So it's only 3 lines of code. And I think I copied a lot of stuff, so I might not. There it is. So all it's doing really, it's going and saying, take that weather forecast and map it into something called OData Convention Model Builder, so I know
Oh,
how to do extra magic with your API return types. That's really all that it is.
okay.
So it's taking your OData Convention Builder, and then it's educating it about the weather forecast, and then it's going back and saying, give me that EDM model,
It's like a
which is
mapping.
the mapping.
Yeah.
The mapping, exactly. And this guy is just a contract, so it can apply to whatever we want it to apply to. So this is all that it is. Add route components, API, get ADM model, right? What did this guy do to my API? Let's take a look.
Okay.
Excuse
Yeah,
me.
that's not too bad. So you're kind of adding, so this is kind of this builder pattern, right? We have enable
Yep.
query features, add route components. You can kind of continuously add
Mm-hmm.
more items onto it.
Yep. Look at what
Hmm.
happened to our Swagger.
Whoa.
Now we have few interesting capabilities. Now it's giving me a schema. Like if I go and hit the schema endpoint, it's telling me about every single model, every single property in my model.
Oh, cool.
And it's standardized. Like it's not giving you a .NET representation of the data
Mm,
type. It's giving you a standardized OData 4.0 EDM, representation of the data type, something to that effect,
got it.
right? Also, additionally, you'll see things like the count, in here. You can basically go and say, give me count. I guess, this one needs a little bit of work, but, you can, like I said before, you can enable the Swagger and all that, and it'll just work like a charm. But that's not the coolest part about this. Now, if I go here and say /API/weather forecast like this, and I hit the endpoint, watch what happens. Now I am the OData response, the API
Mm,
response is wrapped inside something called OData context. And this guy becomes really, really useful because when you're doing pagination from a UI, you don't want to pull 50,000 records. So you
yeah.
want that additional wrapper to tell you how many pages are left and
Oh.
calculate that for you on the server.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Yep.
You
I've
know what
seen
I
that
mean?
before. And in a lot of APIs I call, it's like, oh, you're at 50 and you returned 50. So you should go get the next. And like, you actually don't know how
Right,
many are in there. It's like, maybe there's more.
right, exactly. Now here comes the interesting part. What if I want to see temperatures in Fahrenheit instead of Celsius?
You got to
What do
go
we do
calculate
about
that.
that? You gotta go calculate
Got
that.
to
We need to
Google it
compute.
and you
You
say
gotta
54 C to F. And then Google tells you that it's some mathematical conversion.
Yeah, there's it's 0.5.4, something like that. So let's just see if that actually works. Here's the moment of truth. So $ compute compute equal, right? And what am I gonna do with this compute? I want to tell it, I want to pick up a particular like temperature C
Okay.
and multiply that. For instance, that's not the equation. We're gonna come to the equation in a second. Multiply that by 10
Okay.
and then name a new property. Give me a new name for the result of this model. Let's call it total temp, for instance. Just like when you do in SQL and you say, give me these three rows, or sorry, these three columns, and name them an entirely new a new column.
Yep. Got it.
And then I'm gonna go here and say, okay, now that I have this new thing, I'm gonna need to select it and display it. I'm in control of displaying whatever I want. I want to display this particular guy. Okay, what do you think, James? Moment of
Okay.
truth.
I don't
Blue
know.
screen of death, or it worked.
Control A copy at first. Who knows?
Control A copy. Okay, sounds
Okay.
good.
Just in
Here.
case.
Yeah,
Ah, it works.
first
Whoa.
time is a charm.
Wow.
See that? That's crazy, right? Because now
Mm,
you're not just querying data, you're creating properties on the fly and you're determining what should go into these properties.
yeah.
Cool. Okay. Let's actually get the real equation. I'm sorry. You
Okay.
go ahead, James. You were going to say something. Go
No,
ahead. Go ahead.
I think that's neat. So because obviously you're not modifying the data that's on the server, like in the database, you're sort of morphing it into what your application does. You're letting the server
Yep.
handle the workload. Like that's actually kind of important in some scenarios, right?
Yep.
When you
Yep.
think about it, is if I have 10,000 entries, do I really want like my mobile application to be crunching those numbers over and over and over again? I could just
Mm-hmm.
actually have the server crunch the numbers because the server is going to be way faster than
Mm-hmm.
my
Mm-hmm.
mobile device.
And on the topic of the server, it's not just your server. Let me open up that visualization real quick because I want to show you this real fast. So check this out. You guys can see my draw IO, right? I think,
Yep. Hmm.
let me create a new one so we don't write over someone else's work. So here, I like to use that program. It helps me kind of put things together. If this is your UI, and UI is hitting your API, a lot of people told me about that concern, James. They said to me, well, where does it actually execute? Is it
Yeah.
executing on my API? Because I don't even want my API to execute this. And the
Mm,
good news is if your API is returning an I queryable through the entity framework, it'll actually execute on the server, whether it's SQL or Cosmos, or now entity framework works with literally every technology that I can think of, even Oracle, I think, So MySQL, Postgres, whatever the case may be. So imagine this, the query is coming from here. Let me click this. So you're going here and you're saying, compute, right? And you're going and saying, give me XYZ, right? In the API level, it's just going to turn it into an expression. It's not really going to
mm,
execute it yet, right? And then on SQL Server, it's going to take that guy and turn it into the SQL command, thanks to the entity framework, Jeremy Lekness and Shai and and Arthur and all these folks, the stuff that they're doing over there. You can see that in every realm, the language is changing to communicate with the realm that it's in.
got it.
RESTful, C#.NET, and SQL. How
Got it.
crazy is that? This is a
That's cool.
golden age, right? This is, we're so spoiled, James. I'll tell you that much, right? So, okay. So now let's actually do the real thing. Let's go and get the actual how to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit, right? So how do I do that? Just a second.
There it is.
There it is.
Well, that's
You
not
know,
super helpful, but yeah.
so it's
Just
basic. It's saying multiply by 0.4.5, something like that,
I'm gonna do it.
and
I'm gonna
then
pull up a calculator. 9 divided by 5.
right, and then add
Oh,
32 to it.
1.8.
9 by 5 is 1.8.
Yeah. So it
Oh yeah,
says.
interesting. Really?
Because it's
Okay.
Celsius to Fahrenheit, not Fahrenheit
Yeah,
to
that's right. I
Celsius.
mean, I failed math.
Plus 32.
Okay, let's do that. Let's go here. And let me go and do the temperature. So there's this guy. But what I'm going
Yep.
to do now is that this is my Celsius. I'm going to say multiply by 1.8.
Yep. And you got to add 32 to all of that.
Yes. So I'm going to go and put all of this in a encapsulator like this. And I'm just going to go and say add 32.
Whoa.
And now I'm going to call it temperature Fahrenheit. And I want to display both the temperature Fahrenheit and the temperature Celsius next to each other.
Okay.
Okay, what do you think? Blue screen of death this time?
Control
Let's see.
AC first.
Murphy's Law, whatever can go wrong will go wrong. Click.
Whoa.
Oh my God. Is this actually true? Is 15 minus 15 Celsius equivalent to 5? We made it.
There it is. We did it.
Yay! Right? We made it, mama. There we go. So okay, there's one more thing I want to show you before I talk about the future of OData and all that. There is more to find in here. If you go to div blocks, thanks to Sam Shu and the team, he basically put a beautiful article in here that talks specifically about compute and search and all of
Mm.
these capabilities. The one thing that I really want to, help people kind of see is that this is not just compute in terms of arithmetic operations. You can also do some amazing things like substring on the fly.
Oh, cool.
Let's try it. Do you want to try it with me real
Sure.
quick? 30
Let's do it.
seconds?
Okay.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, 30 seconds on the clock. Let's do this. So weather forecast, and
So we got
I want to
the
get,
summary. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm gonna go here and say $compute equal, and I think he said substring. Let's see, is that right, Sam? Substring, okay. And then I'm gonna go and say summary and 0, 1, I think. So your start index and your offset is 1 like this. And I'm gonna keep that guy lowercase. Okay, this technically, and we should call it something, right? So first character and select first character. Is character with another H at the end?
No, that's right.
This is good. Okay, this is good. Okay, here we go. Boom.
Hey,
Oh my God.
cool.
You know what,
Look
James?
at
You're
that.
you're you're good luck, James. I'm gonna
I
tell you this
try.
right now. This is one of my rare demos where it just bail on me. we're gonna have to hang out more. Give me that lucky charm. Do something, you know.
That's
Anyway,
cool.
yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. This is great. And you also mentioned there's some search stuff. I'll have you back in a future
Yes,
episode talking about
yes,
search and more stuff like that. And you said there's, this has just been in the O data that's out there stable. I know on the blog there's
yes,
some other stuff about this Neo project,
yes.
evolution. You want to hint a little bit about that? What's going on in open source?
Yes, sir. So, I've been working with OData for a very long time. OData, just for the people watching us, I work on back-end core systems and I'm using it in real life critical, mission critical programs. And OData Neo is basically a reconceptualization of OData. We want OData to be plug and play with gRPC. We want it to be plug and play with WCF. We want it to be plug and play. Even if I want a console application, where I just input a query as an input to that console, it
Mm,
should be able to execute, OData query in there. So there are three things. The first one is this protocol agnostic. It doesn't really care what the technology you're working with. You can plug and play OData anywhere you want, regardless what the system that you're using is. That's number one, right? Number two, I want to allow people to kind of be able to modularize OData. I want it to be a marketplace, right? So
mm,
let's say, for instance, James is working on this, mission critical software for a big company, right? And you're going and saying, I want to add fuzzy search
hmm
in there. I want to add a new capability that doesn't come outside of the box from OData. So this concept where you're creating a framework or an SDK that is in and of itself a marketplace where you can publish NuGet packages that conform to particular contracts within that library, the core library, and they can get that capability outside of the box. So I'm turning
Gotcha.
OData into a marketplace,
Got it.
right? And then more important than all of this, really, the thing that I really want to happen is that I want to build OData in public in front of everybody, right? So we record these sessions, we publish these sessions, we meet 3 times a week, and we put it out there on YouTube so people can watch it and
Cool.
people can see what we're doing. And the reason for that is that I want engineers everywhere, especially the new ones, are just running into, starting into our industry. I've been doing this for 21 years, and I still have to Google regular expressions for email validations, if there's ever such a thing, that's correct. And, I still have to Google things. We still have to go back and forth. I want people to be comfortable with rewritable software, James. Like they make a mistake, okay, go back and rewrite it. You're not really writing it on stone. And also some other things like test-driven development, pair programming. What is this culture of engineering, right? Are we all Guilfoyle from the show The Silicon Valley, or are we different kinds of people and we come from all different, some of us, are more, perky than others, just whatever the case may be. So it's a huge project that has multiple amplifications in terms of social impact, helping engineers know how things work. And in the midst of that project, of course, I'm going to have to do something different that I'm not comfortable with. So I'm starting this new concept called the lake house, or a substrate that allows you, it takes dependency injection to the next level. So instead of you abiding by a certain contract, you have only one contract across the entire application, and these services are sending and observing messages from each other.
Hmm.
Something like a pub sub model, except that you're not firing and forgetting, you're firing and observing. You're putting the message
Mm,
out there and you're waiting for it to be complete so you can pick it back and respond to your client. So there's a
cool.
lot of great stuff that is going on there. I'm super excited about it. I don't know if you could tell. See, I'm a little down today, so I don't know if you can tell.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, we'll have to have you back on
Yeah.
as that project continues to go, and I'll put links to
Yes, please.
everything down in the show notes as well. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. Well, Hassan, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this. And like I said, we'll have to have you come back and talk about search as well. But I'm going to go try out some compute, and I'm going to go add some OData into my web APIs right now.
Thank you so much, James. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you too. Take care.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I super appreciate it. If you made it this far in the video, wow, we'd super appreciate it if you give it a like over there on the YouTubes. And hey, if you're watching this on YouTube, also smash that subscribe button, be part of the notification squad, ring that bell. You know what to do. Super appreciate it. But that's going to do it for this week's on.net. So until next time, I'm James Montemagno, and thanks for watching.